Hey everyone, it's Paul from Alexandria Knife Sharpening and Laser Engraving. So I have a really nice Shun Japanese knife that came in. It is a chisel ground knife, and you can see I am doing it here on my TSPROF K03. This is one of the knives that I love to do on a K03. But when it comes to something like this is where the TSPROF truly shines. You don't have to worry about messing it up. You can get the angle just perfect. I can work on this knife and feel confident that I am not going to damage it, change its geometry, or do anything that I don't want to do to this knife. And in no time, I can get this tuned up and ready to go back to its customer. And this is just one of those where, I get a lot of questions about, Paul, how do you pick what you're going to sharpen on? And I know you'll see people doing these on all kinds of different things. You'll see people doing them even on 1x30s. Could I do this on my Tormek? I could do it on my Tormek, but it's just one of those that I really like to do on a manual hand sharpener. I just find that this is what's truly best for this knife. It's supposed to have a straight edge on it, and nothing gives a precise, precision straight edge like a TSPROF K03 or any of the TSPROFs. They are all capable of doing beautiful straight angles on blades that need them. And that's just my method. And I'm not criticizing, don't get me wrong. Like I said, you'll see people doing them and successfully sharpening them on a 1x30. Now, they might also catch some criticism from people that are very traditional about, hey, it absolutely has to be done this way. And to some extent, I get that. When we're talking Japanese knives, they are a very traditional kind of a thing. It's one thing if it's a Western knife or other knives, but when we're talking Japanese knives, there's a specific reason and way they're done and why they're done. And if you're gonna kind of tune one up, I try and keep it as close to as original as possible, but within my ability to sharpen that knife. And I just know that I am not the greatest hand sharpener that there is in the world, so I don't bother with it. And I just sharpened this up to 1,000 grit. It was quite dull, so it did really need a good bit of sharpening here. I might even I think I'm gonna grab an alpha stone here and take this all the way up to maybe around 3,000. I have a whole set of alphas. I can go as high as 9. I don't typically go that high. So here's the alpha stone, and I'm just gonna swap this out, and I'm gonna double check to make sure I'm not changing my angle. Nope, same angle, so that's good. And I'm just gonna kind of finish this off with these two stones. So this is a 1,500, and then I'm gonna go final will be the 3,000. Then I'm gonna strop this knife and it will be done. And this is also one where I love to use my little handheld magnifier, because I can just get in here real quick and take a look and see, did I get all the previous scratches out from the last stone? Is everything going in a nice direction? And am I okay to go to the next higher level? The one nice thing that I've always loved about chisel grind knives is you don't have to worry so much about counting, because you're only sharpening the one side, and then you might pull it back on a stone flat to kind of start the deburring process. or you can do it on a strop too. There's, you know, a lot of ways to do that. I love not having to count, knowing that like, oh, I'm not having to sharpen the other side, so I don't have to worry about it being uneven, because my goal here is just to sharpen the one side and then move on. All right, grabbing my 3000 grit stone. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this one here, but a little bit just to give it a beautiful kind of mirrored edge on this very nice Shun. Now, some people are really fantastic hand sharpeners, you know, and if you it's one of those things you definitely have to practice at. It's not bad to get training in. My biggest issue with it is a lot of times on YouTube, people don't necessarily show how long it actually takes, though. And that's one of the, I get a lot of people that come in and they bought an expensive stone to keep their Japanese knives tuned up, but they, you know, they watch a video that makes them think that they're going to sharpen it in like 5 minutes. And if it's really dull, you're not going to sharpen it in 5 minutes. It can take some time. And that's why most sharpeners that will do higher end Japanese knives, you know, charge more money for them, especially if they're hand sharpening it for you. I know one of the places near me, I mean, he's up around $100 to hand sharpen a Japanese knife for somebody. And people pay it because they know they can't do it, and the knife was expensive, and they want it, you know, well tuned up, and they want to make sure it's going to be in great shape. Yeah. And take it out. Okay. Now I'm going to do my normal stropping on a 1x30 over there, and then we'll test cut this and see if it's ready to go back. And sometimes with a Japanese knife like this, I have seen times where you could get away with, if it's not super dull, sometimes just touching it up on a good leather strop. Whew, this feels wicked sharp, is all it needs. All right, so let's now finish up this Japanese knife with its cut test. Now, I do want to add, a lot of times I see people on camera, on film, and you know, they're trying to be impressive and show you a cut test, and they're doing like this. And it looks impressive, but keep in mind, we're doing our cut test for a very specific reason. And quite honestly, going super fast doesn't tell you a whole lot. So make sure that you're doing the important parts of your cut test, and then you can do the impressive parts also. But the very first thing you want to do, in my opinion, is a nice slow cut through the piece of paper. And I will also tell you that there are times that can be the thing that removes the final tiny bit of burr that you have. I know it's almost perfect, and that first cut, even through the paper, might actually feel a little off or a little rough, but then the next cut, you're like, whoa, and you know what happened? It actually removed any little bit of tiny burr that might still be there. So I usually, like my first cut, I'm feeling for chips. I am going slow through that whole blade all the way down to that tip. I want to be sure that that is cutting nice and clean. Then what I'm looking for next is push cutting. Push cutting is not the pulling, it's push cutting. Is it going to cut straight through that piece of paper without pulling it back? Then what I do is I do little pushes along the length of the blade to make sure it's kind of doing that at every level. little tiny pushes. And if I see it doing that, man, I'm feeling really, really good about it. And now you can do your impressive cuts for the camera. But just remember, if you're using too much speed, just like a lawnmower cuts really well, and the blades are sharpened at about 35 degrees, but speed is really what's helping that cut super well. So remember that. Do all the parts of your cut test, especially the ones that are going to give you the information that you need to know about how well that knife was sharpened. Have a great day, everyone. All right, guys, so out of the same set of knives that I just grabbed, that I showed you the very, very nice Japanese knife, there was a Shun in there, and here is a perfect example of what I was talking about when it comes to the cut testing. I went to do my slow cut test. I figured this knife was done. I went like this, and oh, I felt a little gadunk, like going over a speed bump. And I said, oh, what was that? Now, let me show you. Let's see if we can catch it here. Wow, it's so hard to see, but let me go here. You can just barely see it. I'm going to show you here. Okay. Actually, I'm going to grab my little scope, as you can see, and this is why I like small scopes. So this is one of those things you can absolutely feel, but it's kind of hard to see with the naked eye. But I'll show you here. There you go. You guys see that? Can't miss it, right? Yeah, look at there. There's kind of another one. So I thought this knife was done. I did my normal process, but you can see there's quite a few chips in there, and a chip that you can absolutely feel using it. And that's not an experience that I want my customers to have. I don't want them to be cutting through something and there's that gunk. Oh, what's that? And, you know, and then they look really close and go, oh, there's still chips in my knife. So that's one of the things that I always make sure are gone. And it's the reason I do my cut tests the way they are. And you will see this a lot more in knives that have not been sharpened in a while. And that's the deal with these that came in. These have not been sharpened in a while. And the longer Japanese knives go without being sharpened, they tend to get more chips like that. So I'm going to fix this one, get it tuned back up again. It's going to need a little bit more time grinding to get those couple of chips out that I found because I did my cut test. Not going speedy, not doing super fast, but because I did it slow.